Outside the Box Reviews, we're taking a look at the NECA Aliens Wave 5 Queen Attack Bishop. And, well, the name on the packaging is a little bit of a misnomer because this is much more than just half of a bishop. We also get our first alien egg and facehugger in this new Aliens line. Bishop was a piece I was very much looking forward to just because it is an iconic scene when he gets ripped in half by the queen, but the eggs have me ultra amped. Not counting the Monster Arts releases, I think the last time we saw an alien egg in this scale was with McFarlane, and NECA's only alien egg release so far has been basically a quarter scale piece rather than fitting in with these 7-inch tall figures. And the egg itself is actually kind of a teaser because coming out here in a few weeks, NECA is going to be releasing literal cartons of alien eggs. Half dozen packages consisting of 3 closed eggs and 3 open eggs, and the facehuggers to go with them. So I could say that up front, if this bishop doesn't interest you, definitely don't bother buying this pack just for the egg because you'll have plenty of opportunity to get the egg later. And I guess since Bishop's name's on the package, it makes the egg kind of an accessory, so let's take a look at it here. I love the texture on the outside, that nasty, just alien texture to it. Just very gross looking. They mix some great blacks and greens and browns in here to really give it a organic look. There's even little veins and things going through it. It's not a regular shape in any section, so it just really gives the feel of being an organic piece. The bottom, however, has no detailing, but you never really look at the bottom anyway. Then up here we have the open top. We can see the pink lips of it opening up, the slime going in between. It's really nasty. You go inside, you can see even more of that slimy detail in here. Kind of like the, was it the Nottingham lace or whatever they had on the actual eggs in the movie. And you can see even the very bottom on the inside is detailed. And this is not a view you normally get without dying. And the interesting thing is the egg is kind of a softer rubber, but it's not super pliable. But if you reach in here and push down on the middle part, this base of it, the bottom, is very, very soft. I don't know if that's a leftover somehow from the mechanism that was inside the quarter scale egg, but it serves no real purpose here, but just kind of an interesting thing to note. And of course, what good is an egg without a facehugger? And NECA has given us a brand new sculpt as far as I can tell here, and it looks beautiful. The one thing I would want to maybe complain about it is that it seems like it's a little off in color. It seems a little dark. It's very dark brown with a black wash on top of it, which I kind of remember the facehuggers being a little lighter in color, but it looks really great. I love all the sculpted detail here at the individual joints, little sacs back here with all the veins going through them, the little vagina penis thing on the bottom of it. I love that they sculpted the legs in different patterns here. These are a little more spread out here on the right side of the facehugger and a little more bunched up on this side, and then we have the 2 kind of almost praying mantis looking fingers up here ready to strike, which I think looks really, really good coming out of the top of the egg. Going down here we have the tail, which is nicely detailed as well, and then there's actually a bendy wire in here. It starts right here at the base of the body and continues down the tail, and then it does end about here, so the end of the tail isn't posable. So I don't think you'd really be able to get this wrapped around your character's neck or anything like that because it isn't quite that posable. But it's nice because to fit in the egg, you do kind of have to tuck the tail in under it and then slide it in there so that it looks like it's creeping out of the top. You could wrap the tail up more and submerge the facehugger in there deeper, or you could try to extend the tail out a little bit and have it look like the facehugger's leaping out of the egg. So pretty versatile having that bendy wire in there. Plus it's pretty posable if you wanted to just have it running across the ground or something like it was after Ripley or Newt. I do wish they would have put bendy wires maybe in the actual finger joints, but I could also see that becoming very, very brittle over time. So I'm not particularly upset that it's not there. I haven't looked at super close detail of the egg packs. I don't know if they're going to give us some different sculpts of the facehuggers, maybe the legs in different positions, but that would be a really cool thing if they did that. Bishop himself is, well, an interesting piece, and a piece that, even though I've been staring at this guy for about 2 days now, trying to think of how I feel about the figure, I really don't know. The head sculpt doesn't look a ton like Lance Hendrickson to me all the time. I think a big culprit of that is the fact that they gave him very large dilated eyes that look very cartoony, even so much as they painted in little reflective pieces on his eyes. I don't know, looking at this zoomed in, it actually looks a little bit like Steve Buscemi. But there are angles, especially from the side, where I do feel like it looks a lot more like Lance Hendrickson. And I think this is some kind of weird amalgam between the actor and the puppet used in the scene where he's been torn in half. So I can give it the benefit of the doubt in that respect, I guess. But they really have accentuated the lines on his head and the lines on his face face, which I think adds to the weirdness of the look here. The open mouth's a little odd as well. And then he is covered in the milky, yogurty android blood that he's been spitting up. So you can see it just plastered all over his face, looking like he was just shooting a kind of video that you couldn't upload to YouTube. And we take a look at his hair. It's very messed up. We have some more of that blood in there. His hair is jet black on this figure as opposed to having the brown shadings of the original figure. I think this is supposed to really represent the fact that his hair is supposed to be wet rather than being a wrong color. Obviously things look darker when they're wet, so I think that's the effect they were trying to go for here. Another interesting thing to note is that the neck is differently designed than it was on the original Bishop. The original Bishop figure, the joint was actually at the base of his head. Here it's at the base of his neck. This is a change up. They've done a lot in the Aliens line. We've seen it between the Alien figures, where we have the spacesuit figures with a fully sculpted head and neck together, and then we have the individual figures with a joint at the base of the head. Not going into articulation too much, but I think this joint is designed to allow him to look a little further up so that when he's flopping around on the ground, he has a little more range of motion there. But it is a little disappointing that we can't swap out the other Bishop face if we wanted to, even though the facial expression's all wrong. Going on the rest of the body, great detail on here. The same basic idea of the sculpt of his suit that we got last time. All the little zippers and pouches I think are still in there. We got his collar up here is still well done. It's a soft rubber piece, this entire shirt. Front of the shirt, it's all torn up and bloody. We do have the hole in the center of his chest where the Queen's tail pierced him, which I think is fantastic. And if we look underneath here, we can actually see the hole in the center actually lines up with sculpted detail on the inside, which is really, really cool. You have to move it around a bit, but you can actually see it. Unfortunately, there's no hole on the back. I kind of wish they would have continued the detail back there, but really neat that you could actually line up that hole in the front. But then we flip him around to the back, and it gets weird because we still have some good detail. We still even have some android blood back here, but the back of the figure is flat, and that's to facilitate him lying flat on the ground like you see him in the film. But it just looks so funny to have an action figure with a flat back to it. Just something I'm not really used to seeing. Another thing I love with these Alien figures, we go over to the arm, we can see he has the USCM, USS Sulaco patch on his arm. This is so tiny. Look at my thumb next to this patch, and you could actually make out the letters, the words, the detail. That is freaking amazing attention to detail there. I believe these arms are straight off the original figure, just repainted with the android blood on it. We have the rolled up sleeves, we have the bare arms with more blood on them. Got his watch, which I did notice his watch is a lot better painted than my original release, even though I have a bit of flesh tone on it. They actually got the little buttons on the bottom to look more like they're buttons on the side of the watch instead of just being on top. We do have the same hands we got with the original release, which I'm not a huge fan of. I kind of wish we've gotten a more open hand for this instead of the gripping hand, but I guess it works trying to grip the deck. And on the other side, we just have this flat kind of nothing hand, which is a little bit of a bummer. I really would have wished we got some hands with a little more personality to them for this scene. Then we come around here, we have all of his android guts spilling out. It's kind of a brownish color. I kind of wish it would have been a little more white to match the blood effect, but it works decently. I love all the hoses in here. I actually have one hose here that actually comes around and wraps into the shirt itself, which I think is a great touch. And the rubberized bit of the shirt back here is pliable. We actually have the copyright information underneath there, which I think is a clever way to hide that. For articulation, we have a ball joint at the base of the neck. So his head goes pretty much all the way back, goes pretty far forward. You can rotate side to side as well as tilt it. So a good range of motion there. We have the pin socket shoulders, they'll go out to the side, forward and back. Should mention that the armpit joint, you can see the flesh color has been used for the plastic. I kind of wish they would have done this in a blue plastic because there are scenes where I would kind of want Bishop to have his arm out like that, and that really breaks up the illusion there. We have a hinge at the elbow, which moves a great 90 degrees. The piece around the arm is rubberized, so it will actually bend all the way. We could also swivel there at the elbow. We have a ball joint at the wrist, so we could swivel as well as move a little in and out, up and down. And then the joint I wasn't expecting, we have a ball joint in the mid-torso, which actually is really cool. It's of course hindered by everything on this figure, but you can rotate a little bit side to side, and most importantly, you get a bit of an ab crunch there. So you could have Bishop a little more leaned up, like he's trying to move, trying to do something, or you could have him completely stretched back out, looking like he's been defeated, which I think is a nice touch to add to this figure. Something we didn't need to get with him, but a very nice welcome piece of articulation. And here we have our two Bishops, the Alien Egg and Facehugger, and the Queen all in one shot. And it's not every day I could have one character easily carrying a later version of himself. Looking at the two Bishops side by side, you can see it definitely does look like a prop being held by the actor, which in a weird way is kind of cool. The Alien Egg seems to be in great scale. It comes up to a little over the knees on a human character, which I think seems about right. And then we can see the Queen towering over Bishop, and she looks fantastic in scale with him. And here is the NECA Egg on top of the display base from the McFarlane Alien vs. Predator 2-pack. And you can see this egg dwarfs those McFarlane ones. I knew it would. I knew the McFarlane ones were a little on the small side, but it's very cool to see these next to each other and see the comparison and what we used to have and what we have now. So for one last facehugger comparison, here's NECA's Kane figure. On the right side we have the McFarlane facehugger, which actually does seem more in scale with what we have here on Kane. The Aliens facehugger seems to be a little on the large side, and just for the hell of it, there's the weird wormy facehuggery type creature from Prometheus in Kane's hand. So this figure actually caused me to kind of delay starting to film these reviews for two reasons. One, I had to find the time to do a little stop motion piece. And two, because I was really torn whether I liked this figure or not. The face sculpt bugs me, and I want to give it these conceits, these concessions, but I rewatched the scene in the film, and most of the time it is Lance Henriksen with a mannequin chest in a hole in the ground. They do a really good job in the film of hiding the puppet, so the fact that I keep thinking this looks more like the puppet than the actor is definitely a problem. Everything from the head down I think is really nicely done. I love the detail on it. It's just that head sculpt doesn't sit right with me. The real standout in this pack is the alien egg, but we're getting those packs soon, so it kind of devalues this set having that egg in it. I'm even a little bummed that we didn't get Bishop's legs with this set. Even though they disappear off the face of the planet once the Queen rips them off, it would have been cool to have the other part for that scene. So this pack is going to get a very weak recommend. For the namesake of the pack, the Queen Attack Bishop, I think it's only for hardcore fans, hardcore collectors of this line. The egg is awesome, but you'll have other chances to get it. There's not enough wrong here to not recommend the set, but it's just not quite up to the level where I could give it a huge solid recommendation. Make sure you follow me on Instagram, username Outside the Box Reviews. Also check me out on Facebook, link below. And until next time, game over, man! Game over!